Farhan and Raju are very close friends. They have spent the last 5 years trying to find their missing friend, Rancho, and that's why they're so agitated right now. It seems Rancho is back in town, and he wants to meet them. When they get to the Imperial College of Engineering, the person waiting for them is not Rancho, but another former classmate. His name is Chatter. He begins to show them pictures of expensive stuff he's got. Farhan and Raju don't understand what's happening until he takes them to an inscription on the wall. 10 years ago, they challenged each other to meet here in a decade and compare their levels of success. Now the two friends are furious. No one remembered the stupid bet, and the only reason they came here was to see Rancho. But Chatter says he did find their friend. He is in Shimla, a city about 7 hours away. So the three of them get in a car and hit the road. As they talk about the past, we get to learn a little more about their friendship. We see Farhan's first day in college. A young boy named Mohan introduces himself as MM and offers his general services, ranging from breakfast to college assignments. Raju is praying when Farhan arrives in their room, but MM tells him not to worry. In a few weeks, he'll have lost all his faith in God. Rancho arrives during a weird college tradition of freshmen paying respect to seniors. Chatter is also there, and he seems to be having lots of fun. The seniors begin to pick on Rancho for being late, but he quickly escapes into a room and closes the door. Now one of the bullies is knocking and yelling threats. But Rancho seems to have gotten more out of school than most freshmen. With a little bit of science, he teaches the bully a memorable lesson. And when he finally does come out to fetch his bottle of water, it looks like everyone is afraid of the evil scientist. Speaking of evil, here's Dr. Viru Sahastrabudhe. He's the director of ICE, and the students call him Virus. The man is obsessed with productivity. He even learned how to write with both hands at the same time. Or so he says, of course. His valet, Govind, is the one who does all the mundane tasks for him so he can focus on more important stuff. As a welcome speech, Virus compares young undergraduates to eggs in a nest. The first one to hatch has the opportunity to push the others out, eliminating competition. When we think that this performance can't get any uglier, he dumps a heap of college applications on the ground and tells the students these were the eggs they have smashed. We can see that's not even a new speech, as MM seems to know it word by word. And there's still the cherry on the top, the astronaut pen. Unlike the regular ones, this pen was designed by NASA engineers to work on zero gravity. Virus says it was a gift from his own professor, who was impressed by his talent. He's been waiting for many years to meet a worthy student and pass it on, but no luck so far. When Virus is finally done, Rancho asks a question. Why develop a fancy space pen instead of simply using a pencil? The director's mighty brain has no answer to that. Talking about these incidents with his roommate, Farhan concludes that Rancho is a free spirit. He has a different perspective on everything and keeps challenging traditions or conventions that don't make sense to him. His next stunt happens during class. When asked to define the term machine, Rancho says it's anything that reduces our effort. He explains the idea in a fun and playful way, which irritates the professor very much. Chatter's answer to the same question is a full paragraph that he obviously memorized from the textbook. The boy himself sounds like a machine, and the professor loves it. Rancho protests that this is not critical thinking, it's just a perpetual repetition of what someone already said. Kicking him out of class, the professor categorically calls him an idiot. Not that he cares. Same thing happens with showers. While everyone's fighting for them day after day, Rancho simply finds water somewhere else. Another student full of innovative ideas, his Joy Lobo. Excited about graduation, he's eager to know more details so his family can make arrangements. He'll be the first engineer in his village, and his dad is very proud. Viru tells him to call his dad immediately. Talking to Mr. Lobo, the director says Joy will not graduate. His project is unrealistic, and he keeps missing deadlines. Begging for an extension, Joy reminds the director of Mr. Lobo's stroke earlier this year and the impact it had on his studies. Viru is proud to say his own son died in a tragic train accident on a Sunday afternoon, and he was back to work Monday morning. Shocked at so much cruelty, Joy tosses his project in the trash. Luckily, Rancho is there to pick it up. He finds out it's a drone camera, and it's actually almost done. Maybe all it needed was a fresh pair of eyes. Raju then asks him who's gonna finish their projects if they keep helping every colleague in need. Instead of a lecture on altruism, Rancho says they are always too afraid. He teaches him the mantra, "All is well." That's what the night guard in his town used to say. And everyone slept peacefully, until there was a break-in and they found out the guard was blind. Raju points out that all was not well then, but he's missing the point. The point is those hundreds of peaceful nights. If you learn to trick your own heart, you'll be better prepared to face anything. With that mindset, the three friends finish Joy's project by the next day. They send the drone to his window as a surprise. Tragically, they are surprised by the camera feed. They run upstairs and get to his room, but it's too late. Rancho refuses to ignore what he had heard before and blames Viru for what Joy did to himself. The director says it's not his fault if some kids can't handle the pressure. That's the price you have to pay to study in the best institution in the country. Rancho disagrees with that last part too. How can this place be so great if there's no room for new ideas? All they teach here is how to pass the tests and grab a degree. There's no real learning happening. Viru takes it much worse than the murder accusations. Using both his hands, he writes letters to the families of Raju and Farhan, warning them about Rancho's bad influence on the boys. Farhan's dad summons the troublemaker to their home and gives him a lecture about all the hardship he had to endure to put his boy through school. But the visitor only has eyes to the stunning pictures on the wall. He's surprised to hear that Farhan actually wanted to be a wildlife photographer. That is, before his father carefully explained to him what he truly wanted. At Raju's, the atmosphere is even worse. His mother blames him for their inability to provide a dowry for his sister, which is why she remains unmarried at the age of 28. The future of the entire family depends on Raju's career as an engineer. No pressure then. Not having eaten properly in either home, they decide to crash a wedding. Rancho overhears the groom being a total jerk about what people are wearing and how much they can afford. He takes the liberty to warn the bride about the horrible future in store for her. But he speaks so fast, she doesn't get the chance to say he got the wrong girl. She is Pia, the bride's sister. And guess who's their dad? No other than the omnipresent Viru. The boys try to explain what they are doing here, but only make it worse. Not wanting to make a scene at the wedding, Viru says he'll see Raju and Farhan in his office tomorrow. The two boys apologize profusely and even offer to pay for the meal in installments. Viru calmly stands up and writes a number on the board. That's how much Rancho's father makes every month. Then he erases 3 zeros. Now it's Farhan's family income. Removing one more zero, you get Raju's. That strategy totally works. Raju realizes that it's easy for Rancho to adopt the Hakuna Matata approach. He's the only one in the trio who can afford a free spirit, so Raju makes a dramatic decision and moves in with Chatter. But fear not. Rancho has a plan. Chatter is giving a speech for Teacher's Day, and he wants to speak in Hindi to impress the director. As usual, he doesn't care about the meaning of the words. He'll just memorize the whole thing. Rancho finds a way to swap a few words in the document. You know what happens next, right? Chatter embarrasses both himself and the director, saying stuff like, "He's been screwing everyone for more than 30 years. Rancho and Farhan try to show Raju that this is what happens when you do everything mechanically, but he's not convinced yet. At night, Chatter confronts them, swearing he'll never forget this insult. That's when he issues the 10-year challenge. A few days later, Pia confronts Rancho about the prank. Her father was very upset. Once again, Rancho explains his point of view about Viru, the school, and even Pia's fiancé. Suhas Tandon. She is outraged at this boy's audacity, but at the same time, she worries he might be right. Maybe his ominous words about her sister are still in her mind. So she lets him conduct a brief test involving the new watch Suhas just gave her. Rancho hides it for a moment and tells Suhas she lost it. Just as expected, her fiancé gets angry and yells at her in front of everybody. He's extremely rude to her and even mocks her tears. And of course, he makes sure to say exactly how much he paid for the watch. When he turns around, she goes after him, but not to apologize or explain it was a joke. She returns the expensive gift to him and tells him to find another wrist to put in on. Then Rancho gets a call about Raju's dad. Pia is a medical student, and he appeals to her duty and that oath she hasn't even taken yet. Getting to Raju's place, she says they need to rush him to a hospital. So that's exactly what they do, in a less conventional way. Raju and Farhan arrive right after. The doctor is telling Pia it was a close call and they saved this man's life. Raju is forced to swallow his pride and thank Rancho. Pia comes back to say they all must go home and study for the important exams they have tomorrow. Rancho says they have exams all the time, but Raju has only one dad. They're gonna stay here by his side. Now, Pia is beginning to see that rascal in a more positive light. Unlike Suhas, he pays attention to every detail about her. He's even able to guess that her old watch belonged to her mother, and he says she must have been beautiful, especially considering her father's appearance. In the morning, Pia comes back to wake up the three idiots for the exam. She stays with Raju's dad and lends them the scooter. They get there half an hour late. In the end, the teacher refuses to accept their exams 5 minutes late. Putting on a Suhas-like face, Rancho asks, "Do you know who you're talking to?" It's just a trick, of course. Once determined that he doesn't know their names, they simply make a huge mess so that he can't tell their exams from the others. When the results come, Rancho makes it to the top. That means he sits next to Viru for that year's photo. He takes the opportunity to criticize the ranking system and how that creates divide. Raju and Farhan were the last two of their class, but that doesn't mean they're incompetent. Viru agrees to make a bet on that. He tells Govind to shave his mustache if one of the two last boys ever gets a job from campus interviews. Back to the present, the same two losers are arriving in Shimla. They are shocked to meet a completely different man claiming to be Rancho. He even has the same degree from ICE, and it's the same year, which is impossible, of course. They were there too, and they never met this guy. Grabbing an urn with his father's ashes, Raju threatens to flush it if the man doesn't tell the truth. So he explains that he is the real Rancho. The boy they once knew is his gardener's son, Chot. As he loved learning and studying, he attended all of real Rancho's classes. He did his homework and sat for his exams. Of course, they were eventually caught. But Rancho's dad actually loved the idea. He had always resented his parents for not having a degree. With all his money and power, that was the one thing he could never buy. Until his own son proved that he can. So they kept pretending up until graduation. Real Rancho spent those 4 years resting in London and came back to his name in the diploma. Part of the deal was that Chot had to cut all contact with his college friends. The family couldn't risk anything like exactly what's happening now. Real Rancho agrees to give them his address if they promise to keep his secret. Now, Farhan and Raju respect their friend even more than before. He had put in all that effort knowing he would never enjoy the perks that come with a degree. They begin to talk about their last year in college. One day, Viru humiliates the two of them in front of the whole class. He says their brains must be expensive because they were never used. The boys get so sad they drink all night and begin to argue. Fed up with Rancho's superiority, they dare him to tell Pia how he feels. If he does, Farhan will switch to visual arts and Raju will abandon his superstitions. Challenge accepted. While Rancho makes a fool of himself mixing up the sisters in the dark, the other two vandalize the place. The boys run when Viru wakes up, but he recognizes one of them, Raju. Next day, he has the boy come to his office to type a letter to his own parents, informing them of his expulsion. Raju begins to cry and begs him to reconsider. Viru says his decision is final, but there's one thing they can do. Raju can delete his own name and type Rancho's. Govind takes 7 minutes to shave him, and that's how long he has to make a decision. Completely torn between destroying his family and betraying his friend, Raju walks to the window and jumps. Pia and the boys rush him to hospital. His recovery takes many months, but his friends and family are always there. He gets discharged the same day Farhan has one of those interviews, and he decides that he'll go instead. That's because they have a surprise for Farhan. A famous wildlife photographer wants to hire him as an assistant. He'll spend a year working with his idol in the Brazilian rainforest. Farhan is excited, but he also fears his dad's reaction. He has just bought an expensive laptop to congratulate him on the interview. But after what happened to Raju, all his parents want is for him to be happy. His dad says he'll try to exchange the computer for a professional camera. Raju also gets the job relying on honest answers and being himself. When they meet Rancho, they pay him respect as they once did to the senior students. Even Govind has a small victory of his own, maliciously complying to the director's orders. In the present, the two idiots realize they haven't contacted Pia. She needs to know why Rancho left her like that. Farhan finds out that she's about to marry Suhas, so they are forced to make a detour against Chatter's wishes. They successfully stop the wedding and convince Pia to come with them. Her dad simply cannot believe his eyes. When they get to the address, they find out Rancho has built the most awesome school ever. The kids are free to learn while having fun, and they even build their own machines. A young man comes to greet them and says Rancho has never forgotten any of them. He reads Raju's blog and collects every photography book that Farhan releases. When they ask this man how he knows them so well, he reveals his identity. It's who was promoted to centimeter now. Rancho is with a bunch of kids at the beach when Pia arrives on the scooter. Her anger dissipates with one brief slap, but the boys need a little longer. Anyway, it all evolves to a great group hug. And this is the end. This was a recap of the 2009 movie 3 Idiots by Vinod Chopra Films, starring Amir Khan and R. Madhavan. So, which of the 3 idiots is your favorite? And which of the villains was the worst one? Let us know in the comments below with #CinemaRecap. Until next time.